G'day friends, welcome to day 9 of MERMAY 2018. I've got a real-time video for you today, and this was exactly what I'm talking about when I came up with the tagline, results may vary. So here's the thing, I actually really love how this turned out, but I feel so unbelievably guilty that it was just a simple sketch. Like, I don't know, I think because I've been going a little bit overboard with some of these pieces, I felt so lazy having just put this one together, even though I love how simple it is, and you know, I'm trying to venture into a little bit of minimalism just to try my hand at it, just to see if I like it. But yeah, I went straight in with this platinum carbon ink fountain pen. I'll leave it, this is literally all I used today, so I'll leave the link to the paper and this down below. But I literally I went straight in, sketched in pen. I did my little construction line on the face. I like to leave that stuff in sometimes. Like, I used to erase everything, all the construction lines, all the working lines, but now I like to leave it in. I don't know, I think you can see more of the artist's hand when you see the working lines and the construction, especially when I go in with like with the Uni Mitsubishi, the two-tone Prussian blue and vermilion pencil. It just sounds so bougie. It's a red and blue pencil. When I go in with that and do all my construction lines with that, and then you see what I ended up inking afterwards, I love seeing like, oh, that's where a hand was going to be, or this is where I trialed something and it didn't quite work out, so I didn't bother inking it in. I really like looking at that stuff. I don't know, I found an appreciation for it, so I think that's interesting. That'll be the topic that I covered today. No, yesterday I touched on scanning your artwork and also printing, because I'll just quickly say this much. In response to one of the comments that I got, which was, first of all, I'm so thankful that you guys were interested in that topic, because it was a little bit unusual. But the same with the scanning, so you know, if you've got your scanner and it does RGB, or if it can pick up on the ultraviolet spectrum, you'll get those bright neon colors, or you won't, or they'll find a different color variation for your digital file. Here's the thing, when you're printing, it's the same kind of a thing. Not, you know, it has nothing to do with light per se, but your printer, for the most part, most people's printers have ink tanks that are cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And some printers have a photo black as well, which I think is a little bit richer, a little bit darker. Here's the thing, when you're printing, if you want a super bright neon pink, if you can't mix a super bright neon pink with those ink colors that I just mentioned, you won't be able to print one, because what you're essentially printing is using that ink. So if you had a magenta, a cyan, a yellow, and a black in front of you, whatever colors you could mix from those, you're going to be able to get those colors in your printed version of whatever you're printing. Now, obviously, it puts the ink down in really minute particles and a mixture of the four of them, and like different combinations to give you the different colors of your image. But at the end of the day, unless you had a fluorescent ink tank, you wouldn't be able to print fluorescent pink, because there is a special chemical structure that does make that ultraviolet light appear as, you know, fluorescent color. So unless your ink tank has that, you're not going to be able, if you know, I've heard people have struggled with opera pink all the time, you're not going to be able to print opera pink, because there's that dye in it that is a little fluorescent, I believe, or it's just really bright. My best suggestion to you is, when you are printing, just go to your settings for vibrance or hue and saturation, pump up the saturation all you want. I'd recommend lightening the picture a little bit, like also turning up the brightness a touch, because typically when you're printing onto normal printer papers, everything will seem a little bit darker. You've got to remember as well that the different paper you use will also affect the way that the ink looks on the paper. If you've ever used ink in your journals and you've used different types of journals with different paper, you'll notice slight differences in the way that those inks perform. Now, that's the same it's going to be the same thing on paper. Like if you used Yupo paper and you've used regular copy paper and you put a drop of magenta ink on each, it will look darker and more dull on the printer paper because it's going to soak right in there and it's not going to reflect as much light and look as bright. Even certain copy papers, there can be a difference in brightness. Like I think I use a 96 bright white, which is a very bright white, which is going to make your colors look more vibrant. If you're using a standard copy paper, maybe even a recycled copy paper, you know, things are going to seep into that paper and look a bit darker. So I'd recommend just fiddling with your settings on your computer. 9 times out of 10, if you want to print an opera pink and you want to get as close as you can to it, really pump up the magenta. If you want your blues to look more vibrant, really pump up the blue. Another way to kind of look at it as well, if you're in Photoshop, change the settings to CMYK and it'll show you what's going to kind of dull down when it prints, because you know, RGB color schemes is what digital work kind of looks great with. It's meant for computers. It's made up of those red, green, and blue pixels. Now, when you're printing in cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, the K stands for black. If you turn your settings in Photoshop to CMYK, you just go to Mode Adjustments or Adjustments Mode CMYK. It will show you where things start to desaturate, and then you can go into the hue and saturation sliders and bring that back up, and it'll show you probably as bright as you could print it for using those color tanks. So I know, another really random side note today, but I just wanted to let you know, like, you know, you're not going to be able to print opera pink. It's just a fact, unless your ink tank was an opera pink ink tank, or it had some kind of fluorescent chemical structure in it. You know, you're kind of at the mercy of what those colors can do for you as inks. Also, paper is different as well. So, you know, if you're printing on a bright glossy photo paper, a bright white glossy photo paper, it's designed to give off really rich color intensity. Like when they structure the papers, that gloss, like, it's bending a lot more light, like it's reflecting a lot more, so the colors do appear brighter, even though it's the same ink tanks that you use on the copy paper. Like I said, with the copy paper, it gets a bit dull because it seeps into the paper. So just trial and error, but remember, you're only going to be able to print as bright as the ink that you have in the ink tank. Some professional printers have, you know, different variations as well. They have a light gray tank, they have a light magenta tank. You can get beautiful saturation with, like, you know, archival quality printers and stuff like that. But for regular printing of, you know, stickers and collage sheets, etc., 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 and you're at the mercy of your home printer, just remember, if you can't get those colors with the inks inside your printer, not going to work. So hopefully that'll ease some of the stress and the pressure off of you trying to color match specifically to your pieces. There are workarounds. There are RGB or hex codes for certain colors. If you want to get as close as you possibly can to it, I'd recommend just Googling, you know, neon pink hex code or neon pink RGB code. Go into the sliders and enter those numbers. You'll get the color. So that's all I have to share for you today. I'm all out of time. I hope you enjoyed the real-time video. I hope it wasn't too simple for you. I have my journal with me, my Disney vlog going up today as well, so be on the lookout for that. And until tomorrow, bye. Well, I guess until later today. Bye.